Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where we talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Blacklist. Another great episode. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode. Let's break it down. So, obviously, correcting some stuff I was super wrong about last episode because I kept flip-flopping. I'm like, okay, if this is Katerina, why is she doing all of this? So I was like, no, it's got to be someone who's not the real Katerina. It's like, no, this is the real Katerina. And it's actually interesting kind of diving into trying to understand why she did all this. Because it's something Reddington had said last season. He got pissed at Dom for telling Elizabeth so much stuff last season. But that's the thing. It's like you're telling her this story. It's like either Dom told her a bold-faced lie. He told her part of the truth, a contorted truth, or just straight up left out a huge chunk of details. Because basically it seems like Katerina's pissed about stuff that where that story ends, that there's so much more in between that's left unanswered. Because like obviously Katerina is still a giant enigma. We know nothing about what's happened to her, like subsequently all this since our Reddington came into existence. Obviously, Kozlov becoming Reddington and everything, so that's the thing. I mean, that's, and it kind of feeds into it because, even Dom isn't a reliable source because he's going to skew things because obviously he's older, so maybe he doesn't remember things as well, but also he's going to skew things to make it seem like he's a little bit better than he is, regardless. Because it seems like, because for Katerina, she's pissed because it's like, my entire life has been blown up because of you, because of everything. And he's like, I didn't know. Reddington, whatever the situation was, it seems like, based on what happens later on, it seems like Dom set them up in a situation where instead of being by his daughter's side, he ended up ultimately betraying her. Because I think whereas in the story he goes like, oh, I started off by betraying my country. I was going to do something for my daughter, but then I betrayed her again. But it's like, no, in the end, I chose to be by my daughter's side. But it's like, that might not be the truth. That might be one of those things where he skewed the truth from what really happened, or maybe that was then, but maybe there was an event later on. But for him, he talks about the fact that he did what he thought was right regardless. So there's all of that. And the fact is, she wants Reddington's help to find out who's coming after her and why, because she wants to get information that can be used to find some way around this. Got to know how much he knows, how much anyone knows about her, because people are coming after her now after such a long time. And it's like, how do I get away from this situation? But he won't tell her what she needs to know, because it's not like he doesn't care about her. He does. But the situation is, it's like, I guess knowing what she knows is not going to be, I don't know. Reddington holds so many cards and he holds them so close to the vest, you just don't know. Like, he's hidden so much over the years, and we've gotten a little bit here and there, but even those little bits, it's always been, we think we know what's going on, and then something happens to tell us you don't know shit. And this season, I think, is starting us off with, you think you know stuff, but straight up you don't know shit, to the most extreme that it's ever been. So regardless, it's so interesting because even Katerina's kind of like, she never started this because she wanted to kill Reddington, because she's always going to have a soft spot for him because they have such long history. I mean, once again, it's like, that's her childhood friend. Like, so they go back way back. He's cared for her like she's always cared for him, so it puts her in this complicated situation of like, it's like, yeah, killing one person, I'm sure killing anyone in general is never something she's always keen on, but it's more so who it is this time that she potentially have to kill, especially killing him in such an excruciating way of draining his blood like that, and what kind of effects that would have on his body and everything. But Reddington's talking to Mila about, like, you gotta help me, because the fact is, I looked in your eyes, you're not a killer, and the fact of the matter is, if you let her do this, then you're going to be have a part to play in all of this as well. But it turns out Mila kind of being like, I can't do this, helps him out yet again, because she does care about him. And it's like, she ends up helping him escape, making sure, to give him enough blood to survive and everything, taking him to Dom, obviously letting him contact Denbei, so that turns into a whole thing of them all meeting up and everything. And then even Mila kind of understand, because I think even she didn't enter this knowing the full picture, but she went into it enough being like, wait, Katerina's your daughter? That should have been probably a dead giveaway. Not unless they brought up Katerina's name beforehand, but Because did she ever use her real? I mean, well, maybe it's because she always knew Katarina's name, but didn't say it in front of Reddington or something like that. Because it just seemed interesting. Because now I'm thinking about it, it's like, wait, Katarina Ostova is your daughter, so it's like, I don't know. Like I said, maybe it just might have been something in between scenes, or just something that was automatically implied that she knew. She was just pretending not to know because of the whole Steinhil situation of like what he had set up, his little con and everything. So that was interesting. And even Reddington being like, oh yeah, it's a complicated situation. You've literally dived into like some of the biggest feuding family drama you'll find out there. So, but what was really neat is obviously it's like she helped out and everything. And then, Dembe gives her a card because it's like, because like even Mila was kind of surprised. It's like, Reddington's not what I thought he was. He's like number one on the most wanted list and everything. It's like, yeah, but she's like actually surprised. It's like, the fact is, wait, I don't just want money or whatever. She's like, I don't want money. I don't need that. It's like, no, it's not just about money. This is about protection. So it's like, even under these circumstances, like he's still willing to help her out and everything. And she's like, why is he such a decent? It almost feels like he's a decent person. And Dembe is like, yeah, he is a decent person. Like in the grand scheme of things, he's that complicated villain. I've talked about it before. Reddington is one of those villains you want to root for because he is a borderline anti-hero to the most extreme. He definitely leans more villain than hero, but at the same time, it's a whole thing of like, you can understand why he's done what he's done. It has always been for Liz, even when it seems like it hasn't been. All the secrets he's ever kept, it's been about protecting her, about protecting so much, because there's been so much stuff has been compounded upon itself because it's all connected, like protecting Liz, keeping these secrets, and you pull one thing, it all comes down like a tower of Jenga, So I was actually kind of surprised. I was like, oh man, I was like, maybe, Reddington will call upon Mila some other time. Lo and behold, nope, she pops back up. It's like, actually, she's on her way. Actually, this whole thing was actually a con. And I even love Reddington to be like, of course, Steinhil figured I'd get overconfident the moment I found out, I figured out the whole con, and so I'd let my guard down thinking I would have the upper hand, but everything was part of his plan, which shows you how good Steinhil really is. And then we even learned Mila's real name. Her real name is Frances. You can call me Frankie. She's a combat medic, so that was interesting. It's all been for the purpose of letting, Reddington basically extend the rope enough to hang himself, because she knew that at the end of the day, Katarina was like, I knew you'd lead me to Dom, so now they have to kind of lock and load and everything. So, which obviously there's a thing of like, well, can we trust Frances? It's like, well, at this point in time, she is signing her own death warrant, because the moment Katarina finds out, you helped them, warned them, she's as good as dead too. But for her, it's because she kind of felt bad because of all that Reddington was doing and him actually being a decent dude like that. It complicated things, so her consciousness got the best of her, I think. So that was kind of interesting. They do kind of make their stand. I was actually kind of shocked when Dom got shot. I was like, oh, this is not going to end well. Obviously, Katarina wants him alive and everything, but it's like, I thought you'd be a little more pissed, but I guess it's kind of like, well, let me get him, and then I can, bring him back to life and everything if need be. So there's that whole complicated, situation. They're holed out, and it's like, okay, so what do we do? At the same time, Liz and Wrestler had, tracked everything back to Steinhil, and he sadly ends up killing himself. I was like, damn. But then at the same time, I thought it was interesting. That should have been a key sign there. The door was open. So why kill yourself if the door was open? Because I feel like no one was covering that. I mean, maybe there were, police covering the other exit, but it was just interesting. I was like, I noticed that. I was like, the door was open. What does that mean? So it's almost like he already got ready to open the door. Maybe that was meant to be convincing. Obviously, like I'm talking about what pops up later. I don't know. Like, that just seems interesting. I was like, the door was open. Like, did he decide the last second not to run because he knows it? But it's like no one came from the other side. They all came from that side because the door was locked. So I guess that's supposed to represent maybe someone that had slipped out the bat, but they would probably just assume like, oh, he shot himself. I don't know what to make of that. Maybe I'm most likely reading too much into the whole situation, but regardless. But luckily, they found their way to Reddington and them beforehand. I even love Liz being like, wait, who is she? Don't tell me she's the French nurse behind all this. And it's like, no, she's actually your grandfather's greatest chance of surviving and everything. So luckily, Francis came through and she performed the surgery needed to kind of keep him, keep his, I think it was like his lungs were filling up and stuff like that. So making it so he could live long enough for like a proper surgery to perform to save his life and everything. Because the doctor, this top class doctor, was still a ways away beforehand, so she ended up saving Dom's life. Now that led to some interesting conversations because Liz is like, I need some answers. Who came after you? What is this all about with my mom and everything? And it's like, what started all this? It's like, you want to know what caused all this? Why your grandfather here? It's because of you and Wrestler. And she's like, what? It's like, you started asking questions. The fact is, you uttered a name you should have never breathed, and that was Katarina's. The moment you even uttered her name, even if there's a possibility, even if she was not alive, the fact is you uttered that name, sparking the fact is of hope. People are looking for her because remember last season there were those, what was it, Russians that came after Wrestler. So that was like the sign of like everyone out of the woodworks is coming after Katarina. Whoever this group is that she's in particular running from, obviously she's got a lot of targets on her head now at this point, but it's one particular group or someone in particular she's running from because she's trying to learn from Reddington who's coming after her, but it's like a long list of people that's probably coming after her. People have been hunting her down. She's been a folklore for so long, and just the possibility that she's alive because there's like Wrestler and Liz were asking about her. It's like, you couldn't just do what I asked you to do. I kept telling you, do not ask questions. And what did you do? You set everything in motion with your questions, which obviously Liz brings it to Harold, which Harold's like, that's bullshit. This is on Reddington for keeping so many secrets. It's almost like a catch-22 situation because it's like, if Reddington had told her the truth, but I still think there would have been a part of Liz that would have actually still went out looking for her mom, but at the same time, it's the whole thing of she wanted to know the truth, and the truth is what sparked all of this. So Reddington should have told the truth, but it's like, if he had told the truth, maybe things still would have sparked out this way anyway. I mean, who knows? Hell, Reddington keeping secrets, this might actually be the best outcome, because if he had told everything the truth up front, maybe things would be worse off. Maybe they wouldn't. I don't know. Kate pushed for the truth. Dimbe's always pushed for the truth. Obviously, there's even stuff that even Dimbe, even his closest confidant, does not know, So, because even he didn't know, like, who Reddington was going to go meet in this whole Katarina situation, so. And obviously, it's still an enigma who it is, because they were like, we don't know who he went to meet. We don't know who this mysterious woman is that's coming after us. Even, asking about Katarina, even though it's Katarina herself. It's a whole other can of worms. And then on top of all of that, we find out, oh no, Steinhil isn't dead. He faked his death. It's like, geez, dude, that dude is a miracle worker. Because I even brought up, because it was interesting because, like, Reddington had been like, oh, I'd love to work with this Steinhil dude. And it's like, I was like, yeah, that sucks. He already killed himself. But it's like, nope, still alive and kicking. So that could be someone that I think that's going to come full circle. I think Reddington's going to get him under employment and stuff like that. I was wondering too, I was like, oh, Frankie's probably going to start working with Reddington now. Yeah, but not really because she wants to. It's more so because her hand's being forced. Because it's like, the fact of the matter is, yeah, you did warn us and everything, but you only warned us at the last minute because you kind of set us up in that first place. So I should kill you for that. He's like, I've literally killed people for less. I'm like, sad thing is you kind of have. But that's the whole thing. Like, I think the most recent person, well, like, kind of even on the people that were on his good side, the most recent person he killed was Smokey, because Smokey was kind of running his own thing. It wasn't the whole thing of like, oh, you're the one that sent me down. It's like, no, you try to take advantage of the fact is I was away. You kind of try to overstep your boundaries. So obviously because Reddington already wasn't in a good mood because of the whole being arrested and everything, going to jail, literally almost dying, going to the death penalty. So that, puts a little damper in the whole situation. But regardless, I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but he's going to keep Francis around because, like, hey, you might be able to help me find Katarina. I even love her asking questions like, the FBI was there, but they didn't arrest you. She knows something's up there, and he completely avoids the question. It's like, I don't know if you're going to be welcome into the inner circle for now, but at the very least, it's like, you owe me a debt, and so that debt, I'm not letting you go until then. So I'm sure we're definitely going to see a lot more of Francis on the Reddington side of things. I don't know whether she's going to be like on her own, whether Dimbe's always going to be tagging along to kind of make sure she's doing the job she was sent to do or something like that. So that's going to be interesting. And obviously Liz stating it to Reddington. Those questions, I deserve that answer. You're right, I shouldn't have asked them when I did because you told me not to, but at the end of the day, I deserve an answer about all of this. But I won't ask those questions now because they are too dangerous, but more so than anything, I am going to get those answers from you at some point. The day is going to come, because I mean, and it's a hard situation of like, this is her life that has been turned upside down because of everything, because of you, that she does have a right to know the truth that's been hidden from her for all of this years, her entire life. Like I said, every time she thinks she's learned the truth, she takes one step forward and then takes literally 10 steps back because once again, you don't know shit. None of us know shit, So we're all kind of having the wool slowly revealed over our eye, pulled from our eyes to be like, yeah, this is what's really going on. So that's a whole situation itself. And it's even that sad thing of Reddington being like, you should bring Agnes by to see him. And Liz kind of tears up because I think, you chalk that up as kind of being like a Dom is going to get better. But the fact of the matter is you just don't know like where the situation might go because his brain might have been deprived from oxygen for a while. They don't know. So they have to wait and see. Because when he wakes back up and gets better, he might not be the same person. Because even he had told Reddington, it's like, there's so much left unsaid, and Reddington's like, you'll live long enough to say it, hopefully. So it's kind of a terrible situation when you're being hunted by your own daughter. So there's that situation. Obviously, Cooper's like, yeah, we're not going to tell Main Justice about this whole situation because it would just complicate things even more. It's like that's a whole can of worms, which who knows if someone's going to spill that can of worms. Not necessarily the task force, but who knows if Katarina doesn't try to use that to her advantage in some shape or form. It's like Reddington literally went through all that trouble last season because of the government, stuff like that. We'll see if anything, he has to deal with it kind of double time this season, regardless on that side of things. We get the big reveal that, because I was almost halfway expecting, I was like, Liz is getting Agnes ready. I'm like, don't tell me she's the new babysitter. Don't tell me she's the new nanny. Don't tell me she's the new nanny. Oh, she's not the new nanny. Katarina's the new neighbor. It's like, of course. So it's going to be a situation of, I guess because it's a thing of like, she wants to be in, it's like, oh, you look just like my granddaughter. I'm like, of course you'd say that. Of course. So it's a thing of like, I don't think she's necessarily spying on, because I think if she stays close enough to Liz, she'll find out who's after her because eventually Liz will do her own investigating. But also this is her way to kind of, be close enough to Reddington to kind of always be within striking distance, I guess, to a certain extent, but also keep an eye on her daughter and her granddaughter and get to know them without complicating things. Because sad thing is, because Liz, she's like, I brought Agnes back, but maybe it was wrong for me to do that because now it's like my mom might be more dangerous than I thought she was, and it's like everything that comes with her, like the, larger amount of people that are coming after her. So there's a lot more trouble coming Liz's way with all of this. Like I said, there is just so much to this situation that I'm so excited to dive into to see where the next episode takes us with all of it. Like I said, there's so much to this story that we don't know, and I'm hopefully this season we'll get the entire truth. Like I said, I feel like Dom's story was skewed because obviously, like I said, Red got pissed at him last season because it's like, but the question is like, what was true, what wasn't, what was skewed and what wasn't, so hopefully we'll get those answers soon enough this season, but we'll see. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.